Hey, this is Chad. I'm the high school pastor here at North Coast Church in Fallbrook, and this is your weekly recap to help you parents stay in touch with what we're talking about on the weekend, and hopefully maybe follow up with that at home with your own child. This week we continued our Jonah series, which you adults have just finished up this prior week, and we are on week 2 of that, looking at chapter 2 of Jonah and that gut-wrenching prayer that Chris Brown talked about a few weeks ago with you guys. And if you remember back to that time, if you had seen that message, really the heart of that message was looking at surrender and what it means to surrender. And in the package, it was talked about as why no one likes to surrender because of what that means for us. And when we talked about that, then we were able to reveal exactly what surrendering did mean and why we often don't like that. And so, throughout the scripture, we just looked through that prayer and pulled out some of those principles that Chris Brown talked about a few weeks ago. That first one is we have to remember that we deserve death. That's the only time that you get to a point of surrender. It's the only other option. And talking about our own lives, and when we're left to our own demise, death is what we're going to lead ourselves to. And so we need to surrender to Christ to save ourselves from that. It's the only option. But we have to realize that going into surrender. Number 2, we have to stop blaming and take responsibility for our sin. Number 3, we give up all our other priorities and desires. And 4th, we give up our freedom and commit to a new owner. And this week was really kind of an in-your-face, serious talk on surrender, and wrapping that back around to the last point that we talked about last week, that salvation comes after surrender, that surrender is first in that process, and just being very blunt with that idea of what is your relationship with God if you're not willing to surrender all things in your life for Him. So, maybe a great question to open up a conversation with your child this week would be something like, hey, is there something in your life that you feel like is harder to surrender to God? Maybe it's time, maybe it's our mind, maybe it's some kind of struggle that goes on, maybe it's the kinds of friends that they hang out with. I think sometimes it's easy for us to give up some things like, oh, I'll go to church, I'll give up that time, or I'll maybe read my Bible just a little bit every week. But when it comes to some other things, it might be harder for your students to actually surrender to that. So I would maybe ask them, hey, do you feel like you're surrendered? What are some things in your life that are harder to do that for? Be a great conversation starter. So that's it this week. I hope this resource helps you guys out and helps you connect with your child in a different way, building off of what we've talked about on the weekend service. And just a reminder, this Wednesday night we have our open house where all incoming 8th grade or incoming freshmen from 8th grade through those new seniors, all of you guys and your parents are invited to have kind of a sneak preview of Volume, what it looks like on a weekly basis. And we'll have some special time for especially those new freshmen to meet up with Joey, one of our interns on staff here. And then you parents, I'm going to be talking directly with you guys while the rest of the students are in small groups. So hopefully you guys can join us right here at our property on Industrial Way from 7 to 9 p.m. June 10th, this Wednesday night. See you then. Thanks.